This is a great question. So, why did the trains leave? Well, from around the mid 19th century to just after World War II, trains were the primary mode for transportation. I mean, just look at how many passenger railroads that Michigan had in 1923. However, around the time that this map was created, cars were just beginning to be mass produced. And as a result, cars were beginning to become more affordable for a growing number of Americans. To put this in context, in 1925, the cost of a Model T in 2013 dollars would have been around $3,800. So over the next few years, a bunch of Americans began to buy cars as a replacement to taking the train. And as a result, some train companies began to struggle. This pattern of decline would continue until following Pearl Harbor and the US's entry into World War II, FDR implemented gasoline rationing as a war effort. This predictably led to a huge reduction in personal automobile use, and people began to take the train again out of necessity. However, after Japan surrendered and the war ended, so too did the gasoline rationing. Combine this with American soldiers coming home, with extra money from the GI Bill, and America began to see a huge increase in car ownership. This government ended up responding to this rise in car ownership by proposing the national highway system that we have today. And over the next 20 years after the Interstate Highway Act was passed, almost every single railroad company went out of business. And yes, I said companies, as in private businesses. Today, we're used to the government building, operating, and maintaining passenger rail. However, until the early 70s, private corporations like these owned, operated, and maintained almost all of America's passenger rail. This meant that these companies were subject to regulations that car companies simply weren't. So where did the trains go? In short, they went bankrupt and were consolidated into Amtrak.